Hey everybody, so as you can see I just picked up a brand new collection, 25 long boxes plus 2 short boxes, so basically about 26 long boxes. And it's a great collection. There's a lot of keys in it that we'll go through. And you know, it's an interesting collection because the guy had a bunch of keys, as you'll see, but a little bit from the Bronze Age, a lot from the Copper Age, and some modern books as well. And you know, we had a good negotiation. You know, I ended up settling above my initial offer, but about half of what his asking price was. So I think it was a good compromise. And again, it's a lot of books, so let's start going through them. So right off the bat, I think you'll get a good sense of, you know, kind of what this collection is. There's a bunch of like 80s independent stuff. There's a decent amount of that. But then, you know, the guy was a little bit of a speculator. It's like there's 2 Alien Legion #1s. And like there's whatever this Aliens book is. There's actually, that's a series. Well, there's 2 #1s there, right? Yeah, so 2 #1s of that Alien series. I go to Alpha Flight, and he has, you know, several different #1s of Alpha Flight. Now these are all bagged, but very few are boarded for whatever reason. So anyway, I think this guy, you know, he bought a fair amount of these off the newsstand. Then I think he also bought some collections himself. But again, it seemed like he was sort of speculating a bit, where there's several books in here that you're going to see that there's multiple copies of. I got some A-Team. And then it goes into Avengers. He kind of put them in a weird order too. Like he put like offshoot titles of, it's all sort of backwards, even like the labels, right? So he put Alpha Flight, but Alpha Flight actually is from here to here. And then like the Avengers, so it's like, you know, solo Avengers, and then goes into the Avengers annuals. And then after the annuals are the regular issues. So here we start at issue 98. The early Avengers that he has, unfortunately, a lot of them have, you can see it there, a lot of them have staple rust. So it's a little unfortunate on the Avengers, but again, there's gonna be a decent amount of this stuff, a lot of Bronze Age, so definitely some keys in there. He doesn't have every single issue though, unfortunately. There are some things missing, which you'll see with some of the other series. So here we are on box 2. Again, just good runs of Avengers. But then you'll see it kind of like it's missing some issues occasionally. Or like it's missing runs within the series. Yeah, like here, so it goes, let's see, 177, 178, 170, oh, I guess 179, 180, and then goes to 200. So again, there's some, you know, some big keys that are missing within those missing runs. So I don't know if the guy just like kept certain things. He, you know, he said he sold everything, but you never really know. Especially, you know, with like actual collectors, like not just people who inherited the books, but people who, you know, actually were the original owners, or, you know, who read the books, I guess. You know, they definitely probably hold on to some stuff. So here it goes into the bees. There's Batgirl. And there's, again, a few of these. So he was buying a few of like these certain issues. Oh, there you go, got a couple of those. Sorry, I know I'm kind of manhandling some of these too. I'm trying not to, but it's tricky when they're not boarded and they're in these bags that like stick together. So a bunch of Batman. Let me pull them out. Let's take a look at the Batman comics. He didn't have that many Batman, but there's definitely, you know, some keys in here, which is good. So here's this year 1 stuff. Again, multiple copies of it. Is that 5 copies of that issue? So, you know, that's one of the reasons I really was willing to negotiate a bit on this, just because like there's multiples of keys, right? Like when buying collections, oftentimes, you know, you're looking at the keys specifically and then sort of, you know, offering a bulk rate on the other stuff, on all the filler. But when a collection has like a ton of keys in it, then, you know, sorry, these bags are like really, like these 80s bags, they really stick together. But not sure why he didn't invest in boards at some point. So these Batmans will be pretty good. Even the stuff that's not keys, you know, Batman sells pretty good. Mint Hunter Comics has a great video on you know, what series sell well and which don't, and I found it to be fairly accurate. So Amazing Spider-Man, oh, here we go, that's a key. That's only one of those, but that's a Todd McFarlane key. But yeah, Batman, Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, there's Death in the Family, so let's see if he's got the, yep, he's got that one in there. It's cool. Oh, he's got two of those. Nice. But yeah, Batman, Amazing Spider-Man, and then one that he said that I thought was funny because it's true is Howard the Duck. It's a weird thing for whatever reason. Howard the Duck seems to sell pretty well. They're not really like high value necessarily, depending on the issue. Oh, this is a newsstand. That's cool. But yeah, definitely, they definitely do sell pretty quickly. Like when I list them on eBay, most of the issues sell, you know, within a week. Then we get into the 90s stuff, and as you can imagine, there's a decent amount of 90s in this collection, as there is in most collectors' collections that you come across. All right, so we're in box 3 now. And in case you're wondering about the alphabetization, because obviously this is Detective Comics, the guy didn't sort it by the name of the series necessarily, but rather the character. So we're still in B for Batman. So that's why we didn't see Amazing Spider-Man yet. It's because it's an S for Spider-Man. But check this out now. So after Batman the Cut, what do we have here? So here's the Dark Knight Returns. 2 copies of number 1, and 3 copies of number 3. So that's cool. Those are good books to have. And yeah, just keep going through this here. So got a good amount of yeah, a decent amount of Batman. It's not a lot, but you know, again, can't really complain given the keys. Obviously, I kind of wish this guy had more like older stuff, and you know, again, there's just crap in here like this 90s image stuff, just is worthless basically. But a bunch of these. But you know, even given the fact that, you know, there's not like that many Silver Age books. Like this is probably one of the earliest books he has here, this Captain America 136. Even though it's really like a lot of Bronze Age, you know, you can't really complain because he's got a lot of the keys, a lot of the Copper Age keys, some early Modern Age keys. So definitely, I'm pretty happy about this pickup, and I think, you know, I'm just kind of quickly going through stuff now, but when I have the time to go through issue by issue, I think I'm gonna, you know, realize that there's a bunch of other minor keys in here that I'm not just instinctively noticing at first. Okay, so we're on box 4 now. We're up to Captain Marvel, and again, like related sort of issues are in there. Catwoman. And there we go, there's a Champions number 1. So let's take a look at the champions. So pretty decent condition. That one's got a fold, but I've never read the champions, but seems like a pretty cool team. Look at this though. Yeah, I guess there is some water damage on these. How's number 1 looking? At least number 1 looks okay, but yeah, the other guy's got water damage and rusty staples. So that stinks. I know I have a bunch of these though. I never actually read it. I should really take the time at some point because, again, it just seems like a cool Bronze Age title. Maybe not necessarily these issues again, since they're pretty rough shape, but well, happy with the number 1 at least. So lots of different kinds of titles here. Got Cloak and Dagger, and Comet Man. Of course, there's tons of these. I bought a collection from a shop once where just like stacks and stacks of those Comet Man books. We got a Conan. And again, you know, not really any early issues. Yeah, this is really like a really late 70s and 80s collection and into the early 90s. It's a really like later Bronze Age and Copper Age collection. Here's Crisis on Infinite Earths. So there's the Supergirl one. That one with the Flash. That looks like a full series there. And then we got, again, more 90s Image. He kind of said to me it was, he told me in the 90s where he dropped off. Now here was a little bit of a disappointment for me was the Daredevil stuff, because it picks up at 142. And then like, you know, almost the entire Frank Miller run isn't there. So what is this I got here? Sorry, again, they're kind of stuck together. So it goes from 151 to 183, which, you know, that is a key. That's a cool cover. It's a newsstand, so that's cool. But then it goes to 196. So missing a lot of those Frank Miller Daredevil keys, unfortunately. Again, I don't know if the guy just never had them or he kept them or sold them previously. Again, just kind of because some of the really, really big keys aren't in here. You know, in the collection overall, like there is big keys, but like, you know, there's just spoiler alert, there's no first Wolverine. So I don't know if the guy like went through it at some point and sold off some of them, because again, like he has so many of some of these, or again, if he just bought a collection from a shop and it was already taken out maybe. But anyway, this is a good one to have. So continuing on box number 5, just a lot of random stuff. There's a Dazzler number 1. I think only one copy of that. Yeah, just one copy of that. And not even a full run of Dazzler. It goes from 4 to 21. So, you know, this is a Deadpool number 1. It's got 1, 2. It goes a Death Blow. And we get into Defenders. Defenders is a great series. Unfortunately, he's missing, like, you know, early Steve Gerber stuff. A lot of it just goes into the later Defenders. But the early Defenders is really good. And again, it's the 80s Demon series, Dr. Fate, Doctor Strange, and not too much bronze for those series, unfortunately. New Universe stuff. Yeah, so this box isn't that great. Yeah, this box, not too big of a hit. So continuing now, this is box number 6, I believe. Falcon, Fallen Angels. And then we got the Fantastic Four, so there's a decent amount of Fantastic Four. This guy said that it was one of his favorite series. So starts at issue 104, which I think this might be Kirby's last issue. He did a really cool job drawing Magneto. Has like all these weird cables on him and stuff. But yeah, so you know, decent amount of 70s Fantastic Four. I'm sure there's a bunch of minor keys in here. And then, you know, there's the John Byrne stuff too. So, and with that movie coming out, I should really, at some point, start listing all my Fantastic Four, because I got boxes and boxes and boxes of Fantastic Four. The thing is, though, like, it's actually a pretty cool series. I remember my friend when I was a kid saying, like, why do they keep trying to make the Fantastic Four cool? It's just not. But, you know, if you actually read them, some of the stories are actually pretty cool. And, you know, they're unique characters, and, you know, obviously they're the first family of Marvel, right? Like, they birthed the Marvel age, so there's a lot of history there, too. So, yeah, a good amount of Fantastic Four, that's for sure. On box 7 now, the first half of the box about is, again, just all Fantastic Four. So, again, lots and lots of Fantastic Four. We get into Fathom. This one's packed a little tighter than the other boxes. And Firestorm. And there's the first issue of the 80s Flash. All right. Yeah. Gargoyle. Yeah, sorry, this one's packed tight. Gen 13, there's probably a fair amount of that. And then you get into Ghost Rider. I'm sure that's just all 90s Ghost Rider, but, you know, that's okay. There was some keys there, too, so. Well, I'm sure they're not anywhere worth what they were a few years ago. Okay, up to box number 8 now. And here's where some stuff starts getting good, so. One of the big Copper Age books to get. Buying these collections is G.I. Joe, and he does have a number 1 there. It's a newsstand, and you know, obviously there's going to be a bunch of minor keys in here. Well, you know, big keys and minor keys, but yeah, this looks like almost a full run of this, so that's cool. It's funny, though, you know, I was a really big G.I. Joe fan when I was a kid, and for whatever reason, I never really got into the comics, but, you know, some of these are pretty valuable, despite, you know, being 80s and 90s comics. Actually, and I don't have them here, but the last few issues of this series are pretty valuable. Like, the last issue, it's like number 155 or something like that. It's worth a bit. And yes, there is an issue number 21 as well, first Storm Shadow. So you got that, and that's just the tape on there. So seems like it's decent shape, at least mid-grade. And yeah, so there's a good amount of G.I. Joe. Just like I was saying, I kind of wish he had the last issues, but it stops at 96, so pretty far from the last issues. But if you are able to find the last few issues of G.I. Joe, that's definitely worth some money, especially the very last issue. Here's a Godzilla number 1. I think the Godzilla books don't really typically go for that much. Here's a bunch here, but it's an interesting series, putting Godzilla in the Marvel Universe. And then he doesn't have, yeah, like hardly any Green Lantern. Just a few Green Lantern books. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just because he has so much of everything else, I guess he just really is not a Green Lantern fan. Hawkman, Hercules. Oh, there's some Howard the Duck. This is like a reprint, though. This is like an 80s reprint. Kind of interesting. Or did they continue it? They made new issues in the 80s, I guess. That's what happened. Yeah, they must have come back in the 80s. I'm sure there's some reprint stuff here. So here's, you know, this is what I call a little suspicious. Incredible Hulk 179. Oh yeah. I hope you have at least one of the next 3 issues. Nope, 183. So it goes from 179 to 183. So like, I don't know, man. This guy didn't keep those. I'm a little suspicious there, in all fairness. But, you know, he's got a bunch of other Incredible Hulk, 70s Incredible Hulk, so sure there's something good there. So again, it's like there's these runs of these books where he's just got like every issue for a while. But then like you get up to like sort of key areas. So let's take these out. 330, and 335, and 346. So definitely like, just seems like stuff got pulled out of here. I mean, you know, or just coincidentally he didn't happen to buy some of those keys. So I don't know, but it's got 2 of these, 377, so that's cool. And there's like a second print, I guess. So again, there's going to be a bunch of, you know, good keys in here, even with the obvious ones missing. So yeah, a bunch more Hulk. We get into Human Fly. I actually have a double cover of Human Fly #1, which if you're gonna have a copy of Human Fly #1, I guess might as well have a double cover, right? Indiana Jones. And some of these boxes are kind of packed tighter than others. Oh, and now here, check this out. All right, Iron Fist #1. Again, not in good shape, unfortunately. Looks like these guys got some water damage, so 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. These are all water damage, unfortunately, which stinks. 11, 12, 13, and then look, Marvel Premiere #15. So, again, not the best condition, but this is the first appearance of Iron Fist. So that's a good key to have. So next up, we got some early Iron Man, 6, 7. These bags are just so stuck together, some of them. 8, and then 20 something, I think. 23, 24, 25. So this is a nice collection here. I actually don't think, oh, there's 2 copies of 32. That's cool. You know, I don't think necessarily these are, you know, maybe extremely valuable, but these are definitely issues I do not have. I had one, and I had some of the early issues, like the single-digit issues, but a bunch of these I don't have and haven't ever owned. 44, 45, 46. It's just so stuck together. It's crazy. It's like the tape like melted. The bags are all stuck together. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and then jumps to 66. So again, just like really suspicious how it just like totally dies off around like really big keys like that. So missing the first Thanos, but yeah, then there's like just like every single issue of other runs. So it's really weird. So on box number 10 now, and just continuing with the Iron Man. And thankfully, when we get up here, he does have not 1, but 2 issues of 128. So this is a classic cover. So again, it's like the more, you know, middle and minor keys he has like a lot of, but like the huge ones are the ones that are missing. So, but we get into like the late like multiples of this stuff. You know, the late 70s and 80s, you just got like every single issue and just multiples. So I'm sure there's some good keys in here too. These Iron Mans. For example, there is 282, so got that one. And the more modern keys will be better condition, which is, you know, typically the case anyway, but I heard someone say, I think it might have been Bronze and Modern Gods, they said that Gem, Son of Saturn, I think it was like number 4 or something, the newsstand was one of the lowest printed newsstands ever, or, you know, of the 80s, I guess. Box 11 now, we start with Justice League. And the guy actually really didn't have, there's number 1, 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies of number 1. He didn't have a lot of DC, honestly, at least comparatively. It's really Marvel heavy, but some Justice League, he's got Kingdom Come in here. As the bags are all stuck together. It's one of those things where like you really need to kind of carefully go through each one and pull the bags apart. And I gotta obviously, you know, rebag and board these because they've never been boarded apparently. So Lobo number 1, Lobo number 2. Long Shot number 1. He's got a bunch of, just 2, 3 copies of Long Shot number 1. Magic. Oh, then Magnus. I think this still goes for a little bit of money. I have a bunch of these though. We got Marvel Comics Presents. So there we go. That's cool. So a few issues of number 1. 1, 2, 3. 3 issues of Marvel Presents number 1. And we got the Weapon X stuff. So it goes from number 34. And then, okay, cool. So that's one where it's a little less suspicious. So it picks up at issue 72. Only 1 copy, but I'll take it. And then other Weapon X issues. 73, 74, 75. So cool. I'm glad he actually had these and this isn't like one of those missing runs. So all the Weapon X stuff. Cool. So there's that. It's a cool Venom cover. Marvel Fanfare, there's a bunch of that. And Marvel Masterpiece. Kind of cool. Marvel Saga. He's got like tons of this Marvel Saga stuff. And then here we go. Now check this out. Not that. But look, a bunch of Secret Wars, number 1, number 2, number 3. Now I know what you're thinking. All right, I've seen stacks of these from shops before. But guess what? He does have 1, 2, 3 copies. 3 copies of issue number 8. So that is pretty cool. That was one of the things that, you know, I saw this, when I saw things like this, where there's multiples of those kind of big Copper Age keys. Like, all right, this is, I got to make a good offer on this collection. So, yeah, that was, that's pretty cool. And in the other next box, it picks up the rest of the Secret Wars. Yeah, box 12 is the rest of the Secret Wars run. The multiples of each. And then goes to Secret Wars 2, which was much less acclaimed. And we got some Marvel Tales. That's actually an early one, but you know, it's defaced. But yeah, most Marvel Tales are not really worth that much. Issue 99 and 100 are a little valuable, but he doesn't have those. So this is like bulk Marvel stuff. We got Marvel Team Up. So looks like that starts at issue 48. I actually have a ton of this too. That's another series I just got like boxes of. I need to go through at some point. Lots of Marvel Team Up. And then it goes to Marvel 2-in-1, which is a pretty cool series, at least some issues. Is number 1? It's a pretty cool series because, you know, you got these random characters that the Thing teams up with. Although there are some where he teams up with Mr. Fantastic and the Human Torch, which is kind of ridiculous because what's the point of that? Again, sorry guys, the bags are killing me here. Oh look, there's the Thing and the Thing. And then this official handbook stuff, which there's just so much of. All right, so up to box number 13 now, so we're about halfway done. And Masters of the Universe number 1. That's kind of cool. And a bunch of other stuff. More of this New Universe stuff, Millennium, Moon Knight. And there is a Moon Knight number 1. Newsstand. Again, the condition may not be the best, but he has it. I guess I should say I have it now, since I bought it. I should stop saying he had it. Yeah, so a bunch of Moon Knight, Morbius, and then Ms. Marvel. So Ms. Marvel 1 and 2. There's the Nom number 1. I think for a while that was going for something, but again, a lot of that modern stuff just crashed in value. Thanks to the interest rates. Gotta love those interest rates, right, folks? Namor number 1. Not much of Namor. Some New Gods. And then, folks, we get into New Mutants. All right, so kicking off box number 14, we got 3 copies of New Mutants number 1, and one of them is a newsstand. And then it's just like big runs of New Mutants with multiple copies. So again, lots of good minor keys. But then we all know what we're thinking, right? Everybody's all wondering the same thing. As we get up towards the end, is it gonna be there? Or I guess I should say, are they gonna be there? Because of course, I don't know why New Warriors is stuck in there, but 81, 82, 83. Oh, it's 87, but it's a second print. 98 newsstand. Yes, it is there. The very first appearance of Deadpool. And I do not currently have a copy of this book. I've sold it, I don't know, maybe either 2 or 3 times I've had this and sold it. So finally have another copy again. It's been probably a couple of years since I had a copy. And probably try to hold on to this one, again, because it's a newsstand, and again, the market being down, but he actually had it. He didn't take this out, so. Again, that's like, it just makes me kind of wonder about some of this stuff, right? Because there's like that, but then there's other stuff that's missing. So like if he did take stuff out, what was kind of the logic behind it, I guess? All right, so continuing on, there's Next Man. He does not have the first appearance of Hellboy. It was 16, 17, and then I think that's it for the original series. 18 is the last one, so does not have the first Hellboy. There's Nightcrawler, Night Mask, Northgard, Nova, but it starts at number 2. So no Nova number 1. There'll be some keys in there in that Nova series. So we're into the P's now. Pit, and then I guess Power Man, and then Pope John Paul. But it starts at Power Man number 10. So there'll be some good keys in there too. Oh, Power Pachyderms. Power Pachyderms number 1. Probably no Power. Huh? Spoke too soon. Okay, there's a Power Pack number 1. I was gonna say I didn't think it was there because the next one is number 16. And it's 2 copies. All right. 2 copies of Power Pack number 1. And Power Pachyderms. And then a bunch of Power Pack. So box number 15 starts off with Predator. The art on these Predator covers are really cool. And Magnus. I got so many of these guys. I don't know if they're worth anything, but that was overprinted. And there's this dumb book with the hole in it. There's another overprinted thing. And look, Punisher number 1 of the miniseries. 2 copies of that. And we got the other one. It's one of the only comics that is not bagged. That's funny. So, like, the only unbagged book in this entire collection is Punisher number 1. So, I got, got both Punisher number 1s and 2 of those. So, that's cool. And then there's other ones. There's other keys in the early issues of Punisher, like there's the first microchip and stuff like that. So, Actually, I don't know if I've seen this book before. It's interesting. Red Sonja, Ren and Stimpy, Return of the Jedi. So, Return of the Jedi. I don't know why that's not with Star Wars. That kind of breaks this whole logic. Robin, RoboCop, Rocket Raccoon number 1, and other ones too. 2, 3, 2 copies of 3, and then that's ROM Annual 1. I got so much ROM number 1. I don't even really care if he has it or not. He does. But this is when I just had so many freaking copies of at one point. And ROM. So, bunch of ROM. ROM Space Knight. Savage Dragon. Secret Defenders. So this is box number 16. It starts off with Secret Origins. Shadow. Shazam. He does not have Shazam number 1. Although I think this might be the first appearance of Black Adam in a while. I don't know. It's one of those 70s Shazams because he hadn't appeared since the 40s. Shadow Hawk. Stuff I'm definitely gonna be bulking out. Shadow Hawk, Sheena, and then this is cool for me, and this may seem kind of stupid, but I've never had an issue with She-Hulk #1, and this guy had 2. Now, one of them, unfortunately, is rough shape. What he actually told me is that he bought this one, I guess, when he was a little bit younger, off the newsstand and read it a bunch, and then later on he bought this copy, which is better condition. So I'm going to hold on to this because I've never had it, and I bought a lot of collections, but for whatever reason, I just haven't picked this up in a collection ever, at least that I know of. Maybe sitting in one of my boxes and I just don't know it, but I've never had a She-Hulk #1, so I'm going to keep this one and sell this one, and yeah, and they're both newsstands, and then, yeah, a bunch of other She-Hulk. I haven't had too much, or I haven't listed that much 70s She-Hulk. This I thought was a crazy cover, this elephant. I haven't listed that much 70s She-Hulk, but I know that the 90s stuff, and here's a bunch of #1s there of that. This Sensational She-Hulk from the 90s, this is another series that sells really well. And these are all newsstands too, that's cool. But yeah, like some of these issues, you know, they go for $5 or $10 each. And they sell really quickly, actually. So there's a bunch of the early issues. There's several keys of these. So glad that that's in there too. Oh, there's that. Is it? Which issue is? Yeah, that one's a key too. Jump rope one. I mean, there's honestly a bunch of these are keys. I think even the later issues maybe because the print run was lower. So that's a really good series to get, is Sensational She-Hulk, just because there seems to be a lot of demand for it. Even I know that Disney Plus series didn't do too well, but even after that, I guess I should say the reviews were mixed, is how you would say that. But even after that, it seems like the She-Hulk comics are still in demand. So a bunch of Silver Surfer. It's cool. And Sleepwalker, and then this, I don't know, this is a second print, but I believe this is worth some money here. That Solar, that's like one of the few Valiant comics that are even worth anything. I wonder if I might have skipped over Harbinger also. And look at this. How many we got, folks? Let's count them up. All right, let's see. Spawn #1, how many copies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Spawn #1s. So, again, would have been a lot more excited if, you know, it had been during the height of the COVID boom, but can't really complain about that. And just a bunch of duplicates of early Spawn issues. So yeah, it definitely seems like this guy speculated in Spawn, again, he just bought a collection that came from a shop or something, because he's just got like multiples of these issues. But what's cool actually is that I haven't been able to come across that much Spawn after issue like 30-ish. And he's got seemingly like a full run here, at least some runs, I guess I should say. So that's cool. I'm positive I'd never have owned a bunch of these books. So, and there's Batman Spawn. Medieval Spawn. Okay, so these are other Spawn series, but yeah, like, I don't know, into like I don't even know what issue number that is. This is 100. Like, I don't know if I've ever had Spawn 100 before, or like, you know, even issue like 70 or 80. I don't know if I've ever bought a collection with those in it before. We got Spider-Man #1 in there. Not Amazing Spider-Man. That would be amazing, but no. 90s Spider-Man #1. And then it goes to Amazing Spider-Man. So again, this is the way the guy sorted this stuff, was he put the characters together alphabetically. So the question is, of course, when you got a ASM collection, where does it start? This one starts at $199, unfortunately. So, you know, a lot of those early keys, Death of Gwen Stacy and, you know, Punisher, first Punisher, those aren't there. And yeah, it's really sporadic to start off with. I imagine, you know, I hate to accuse the guy of keeping comics. I mean, you know, it's his collection. He can do whatever he wants with it, but, you know, it would be understandable if he'd want to keep some Amazing Spider-Man books, because as I was saying at the beginning, this is really like the most collectible comic book series there is. It's like everybody wants every issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and especially the keys. So $248 and $250 we have here. It's a cool cover. So yeah, like even with the keys not being here, you know, like I'm sure some of the big keys just aren't in here, but even, you know, I'm not that upset about it, because like 252 is not there, right? Like it goes from, and it's like explicitly not there, 251 to 253, right? So like, but again, even with like those really big keys missing, and spoiler alert, number 300 is not here. There's no first Venom in here. But again, even with those keys missing, it doesn't really matter, because every single issue almost has some value. I mean, some of them less than others, right? Like there's certain periods that are kind of not as sought after as others. But for the most part, this series sells pretty easily. So, and this is it's a good run, even with some of the keys missing. So let's take a little walk through the McFarlane era here. So it goes from 297 up to 301. So 299 and 300 both are not there, but after that, you know, there's a bunch of these, and this is kind of a key. It's obviously an homage to Action Comics #1. There's kind of, I mean, most of these are keys in some way. Either it's just like classic Todd McFarlane cover type key. There's multiples of some of these, like 3 copies of 312. There we go, 315 and 316, so that's cool. Those are keys. So, yeah, good 80s Amazing Spider-Man. And then in here is like when it starts to get a little rough to sell some of these. These are kind of low value books, like dollar men books, some of these. But he does have the first appearance of Carnage. So even though I didn't have the first Venom, I did get the first Carnage. So I can't complain that much. And this is another book that I've had maybe 2 or 3 times, and I've sold it before. So the challenge when you are a comic book collector and a dealer is trying to hold on to those big key first appearances. And, you know, it's a constant battle of like, well, kind of need to come up with some cash, so let's just start selling off these big keys. And then it's like, I kind of wish I had the first appearance of Carnage or Deadpool still. So I'll try to hold on to that. We'll see. Again, there's a lot of, a decent amount of money here between everything else. And then, yeah, it stops. He stops before some of the later keys in the series. And we got other various Spider-Man titles. So we don't have the first Spectacular I got here is number 26. Spectacular's, you know, doesn't really compare with Amazing Spider-Man. There's only, again, some keys, like Hobgoblin type keys. but it's not a comparable series with Amazing Spider-Man. All right, we're on box number 19, Web of Spider-Man, which is still, again, technically S for Spider-Man. 3 copies of Web of Spider-Man number 1. Sorry, 4 copies. This is another series that just, yeah, it's like kind of an also-ran Spider-Man series. Has some minor keys in there. This is a key also. Spider-Man versus Wolverine. 2 copies of that. There's Spider-Man 2099. Number 1, 4 copies of that. And I'm sure there's all kinds of other little Spider-Man keys in here I'm missing. There's Spider-Man His Amazing Friends number 1. Not sure if that might be worth anything. Spider-Woman number 1. It's weird. Jumps from 1 to 41. I guess he like specifically bought that one. Squadron Supreme, bunch of that. Some more Star Brand, this new universe stuff. And Star Trek DC series. Not the Gold Key series. All right, let's kick off box number 20 with Star Wars. Yes, folks. There's the annuals, and then there we go, Star Wars number 1. So another big key that he did have, and there is the Whitman of that as well. And I gotta try to be careful with one hand here, but and, there's multiple different printings of these early issues, so I can see some of these are reprints, but Star Wars is another one of those series, like Amazing Spider-Man, like Batman, like Howard the Duck, where it's a very collectible series and people will buy almost any issue. So I'm honestly not up on all my Star Wars keys. I can see the first Boba Fett is not there, unfortunately. But I'm sure there's all kinds of minor keys in here. And like I said, it's just a good series where people will buy almost any issue. So, and then we get into some of the Dark Horse, which also, some of this can sell pretty well. Shadows of the Empire. Again, I'm not really up on all my Star Wars keys. I can recognize like some of them, but I know that there's a lot that are just like random first appearances of characters I've never heard of, so. He has a Strange Tales there. Second volume of Strange Tales. Suicide Squad. This is also unbagged. The Suicide Squad number 1. Supergirl. And then a bunch of the Superman number 1, which unfortunately really isn't worth that much money. He did have these issues of Superman though, and there's obviously, as you might expect, a ton of Death of Superman. Shops sell this stuff for, $5, $10, $15, maybe 20, but I have stacks and stacks of these black bagged comics. It just was so overprinted that they act like, I don't know, they still act like it was this huge key. And these are the same story arc here, Alan Moore, when they were finishing the pre-Crisis Superman storyline. And then, you know, there's some minor keys in here, like this one, you know, it's like a $5 book or something. That's just 600. Yeah, there's just, you know, the Doomsday stuff, it can sell for a little bit, but for the most part, like 80s and 90s Superman. And by the way, I was a huge Superman collector when I was a kid. It's actually one of the series, it's the series that really got me into comic books, was reading this kind of stuff in the 90s. But they just printed so much of it that, like, it's really, it doesn't retain its value. Also, too, like, from shops, I've gotten stacks of this Man of Steel series from the 80s when John Byrne started on the book. These are, this is the first appearance of Doomsday, I believe. First full appearance. Oh, no, that's Man of Steel. Yep. Great. Yeah, we'll take those out. Some of those, yeah, some of the Doomsday ones are worth a little bit of money. Especially if they're like some of them will be like the 4th printing or something. Like I got one that's like the 4th or 5th printing of this book. So, but yeah, you know, I can't complain. It's all good. Yeah, it may not be extremely valuable, but Superman sells eventually. Especially again, they have that movie coming out this summer, so we'll see if that kind of boosts Superman's back issue comic sales. So on box 22 now. Some random Superman titles. Supreme, which is a good series. Again, the comic is not really worth anything at all, but you should check out Supreme, especially again when Alan Moore was on it, ironically. Tales of Green Lantern. What is this now? Team America. Ooh. These comics are so stuck together. Trying to see if there's any Teen Titans keys here. Tales of Terror. Man, you guys hear that plane here? Jeez. It's like right above my house. So we got some Ninja Turtles here also. Issue number 4. Not sure what printing this might be, but like we were saying with some of the others, Ninja Turtles is also one of those series. So there's 2 different, oh, that's Tails, sorry, that's Tails, and then that's the actual one of the printings of number 4. Yeah, sorry. So these are Tails. So a bunch of early Ninja Turtles. No number 1, of course. I don't know if I'll ever see a first printing of number 1 in a private collection, just given, you know, how low the print runs were. But as I was saying, you know, Ninja Turtles is just, again, one of those series that people want, like, almost any issue. And then I think, yeah, there's even some Archie stuff in here, too, which is cool. So yeah, this is shaping up to be a pretty decent collection. So then there's the Thing, a bunch of those, and then Thor. We got some Thor books here. And not really necessarily early issues, but some good Bronze Age Thor. Like with some of the other books I've been talking about, other series I've been talking about, I have boxes and boxes of Thor that I need to go through at some point. So I think we'll just get added to the pile, except for some of the big keys. So speaking of Thor keys, there's 4 copies of Thor 337, all newsstands. First appearance of Beta Ray Bill. Also have 2 copies of 338. Also, well, one of them's a newsstand. So again, I honestly don't even know if I probably owned 1 copy of this book before, if I've owned it before. So I was just grabbing 4 at a time. And yeah, it's just, again, a bunch of Thor in here. I'm sure there's all kinds of minor keys in here. There's another 338. That's weird. It's a little odd. Okay, so there's another 330. There's 2 other 338s. All right. Weirdo's out of place like that. Thunder Agents, Thunderbolts, 0. Oh look, a Transformers #1. Those were... So, again, it's really, this collection is great on the Copper Age keys, with the exception of, again, like the first appearance of Venom, or the first Hobgoblin was missing that too. A bunch of Transformers. The other Image crap. Twisted Tales. And you know what's funny is when I met this guy, I was telling him about how everybody has this in their collection. He didn't know what I was talking about at first, and lo and behold, he had 2. Turok #1. Everyone in the world speculated on this book, and some people still think it's worth money, and it's not. Because I have, at one point in time, owned the huge stacks of that book. So after Union, get Usagi Yojimbo. Starts with number 10, 20, 21. So, one with the turtles, that should do pretty good. So, that's pretty cool. Valeria the She-Bat. Vampirella. It's a Vampirella, not the original #1, but the 80s or 90s. I think this is 90s #1. So, a bunch of Vampirella. Venom, Lethal Protector. How many copies of that we got? Got 4 copies of Venom, Lethal Protector #1. The paint on, or the whatever this is, olive foil, is chipping off some of these. Vigilante #1. There's 1, 2, 3 copies of that. All right, guys, we are on box number 24. Got the Vision and Scarlet Witch. Bunch of that. Another series I have not read. I need to read at some point. And we got a couple Warlock books. Watchmen #1. Only #1, but I'll take it. And then there's a What If #1. That one looks in decent shape. There's a bunch of What If. Also another series I really want to read more of at one point, because there's some cool concepts in these. My dad had this one. I remember seeing that in my dad's comics when I was little. See, I read 90s Superman, but my dad also had like a bunch of comics from the 70s, and he also had these Spider-Man reprint, these little like pocketbook things. But they were pretty cool because they had the like original Steve Ditko stories. What if Hulk went berserk? Doesn't he do that all the time? Oh, what's the let's see, there's still some missing though. 19, 20, 24, 27, yeah, so it's not every issue, unfortunately, but I'll take it. In case you're wondering, I did buy this collection for less than $1 each. Of course, a lot of these are worth much less than $1. So it'll all even out in the end. Well, hopefully I'll be making a profit. And with books like these, I definitely will. Here's the original Wolverine series. How many copies of number 1? 1, 2, 3. 3 copies of number 1. 2 copies of number 2. Yeah, 3 and 4. And then I don't have the volume, or I guess this is a mini series and this is volume 1, but I don't have number 1 of that for some reason. But I do have a bunch of Wolverine. So there should be some other keys in here, although again, I can tell there's some stuff missing. But like there are some other keys in here. All right, so we're on the final long box now. I have a bunch of Wonder Man number 1s, both of them from the 80s and the 90s. So this is the final long box, and then there's 2 short boxes. There's some Wonder Woman number 1s. This is the one where I got this from a shop. I got a huge stack of this stuff, so yeah, I'll take more, but and then some of those Wonder Womans can be worth some money too. Some other, like even like the 90s issues can be sought after. So that's cool. Got that. World of Smallville, World of Metropolis. 1 issue of World's Finest. And we get into X Factor, and everybody knows what we're looking for in X Factor, right? The first few issues. Number 6. At least 1 copy there. First appearance of Apocalypse. I think it's only 1 copy. No, got 2. 2 copies of the first Apocalypse. I actually would think it would be more valuable than it is, honestly. I think Apocalypse is a pretty big character. And there'll be some other minor keys here too. And then I was looking at these, so I think this one is the only one with a Deadpool card. And actually, it's a newsstand too. I don't know if that makes a difference, because it's really the card that people want, but this is a newsstand copy, so I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But I think I looked at most of these other ones, and I don't think any of the other ones have the Deadpool card. So then we get to X-Men, the 90s series. We have the first Omega Red, 1, 2 copies. Seems like, and then a bunch of X-Men number 1, which is one of those other books that like it's so overprinted it shouldn't be worth anything, but shops will still charge a bunch of money for it for some reason. All right, guys, we've made it to almost the end here. We're on X-Men. Of course, the annuals come first. And then we start off with the actual issues. So 151 is where it starts. which, you know, again, is a little unfortunate because there's some big keys before that, but at least we're getting, you know, some of that early 80s stuff too. Because it could, you know, start around here instead. So, minor keys, stuff I have copies of already for the most part. Actually, there's this book in particular. I had like a full long box of just this book that I got from a shop. When I bought a giant collection, it was like there's certain issues like that and some random issue of Daredevil where it was like a long box full of the comic. So here we go. This is first Mr. Sinister. So there's give me some good keys in here. It's a cool cover, huh? Yeah, there'll be some good keys in here. Just another spoiler: the first Gambit is not in here. That was one thing I was a little disappointed at when I was looking at the collection, but. Again, there's other various kinds of X-Men keys in here, so overall, can't really complain. So it goes from, goes from 263 to 271. And then there's the first appearance of Bishop. There's a few of those. It's nowhere near as valuable as the first Gambit. And then these are the second print. This is the first print. So there's a bunch of those. And it's like a $5 or $10 book probably. So I'll pull those out too, but and that goes Youngblood. And does anybody remember when this book, was it this one? Yeah, it was Youngblood too, right? Maybe remember when that book was valuable? Briefly, during the COVID boom. And that's it. So, I don't know, guys. I'm pretty happy with the collection overall. You know, a bunch of Amazing Spider-Man, a bunch of Ninja Turtles, and just all these keys that we just went through. And like I said, some books I've never owned before, like She-Hulk or like those Spawns. So I'm pretty happy, and obviously the fact that there's duplicates of a bunch of this stuff too is cool because then I can sell one and then I can keep a copy for myself. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this collection. It's not the best collection I've ever bought. It's but it's probably in my top 5, I'd say. It might be like, yeah, maybe number 5 on my all-time collections I bought. Again, just because there's so many of these keys, despite the fact that there were a bunch missing, there's still all of these guys. And again, it's books I've never owned before. So yeah, I'd probably just off the top of my head rank it at number 5. So pretty happy about it. If you enjoyed this, please check out my other comic book videos. I have a playlist on the channel for just comic book stuff. And yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.